service. Our spiritual service starts in 5 minutes. Get your friends, get your coffee, get your seats. Welcome, welcome.
All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Free. I'm Ryan, and I'm the pastor here. Man, it is so good to be back with you on this Saturday night. Tammy
You're
and I.
so tan.
I know, look at me.
Oh, my goodness.
And Tammy, too.
Yeah.
Well, not as much. We were in, Tammy and I just got back from vacation. We spent 9 days away in Costa Rica to...
Kidless.
Yes, kidless, without kids. Are we standing too close? Is that why we're beeping?
I don't know.
Buzzing. Anyway, we had a great time, and it's always, y'all know when you leave, it's always good to come home. So it's good to be with you tonight. Welcome to Free. If you're new with us, I should let you know. Even if you're not new with us, I will remind you, we are a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. And what we do here, our mission here is to break the silence of addiction and create space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. And we're in the middle of a series right now. Noelle kicked it off last week. She's going to continue it tonight because I said, look, can you take one more week? Because we just got back on Wednesday.
You're still on vacation mode.
Still a little bit on vacation mode. So she's going to bring the message. But this series is all for how do we create space for our spiritual refugees, those who have felt kicked around by religion. They felt that they don't belong with God. They were told they don't belong with God. And so what does it look like to create space for the spiritual refugees in our midst? Listen, if you're joining us online,
Whew. Man, I thought I needed another cup of coffee, but I'm good now.
We're back. We are back. So my mic just seems a little hot, but that's okay. We're going to roll with it. If you're with us online on Facebook or YouTube, welcome. We're glad you're part of this community. I know we got groups gathering around the country that tune in, so we're just glad you're part of this community, and we welcome you here. So make yourselves at home, in your home, or wherever you are. Noelle, we've got some stuff coming up. We've got a big thing happening tonight, actually, don't we?
We do.
Okay, you want to tell us about it?
Well, first, if tonight is your first night here, we have welcome bags right outside this door on this table. Is that mic not working? Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah,
there I am.
You're on. You're good.
So welcome bags. There's some fresh roasted wagon coffee, a little bit about what we do here at Free Spiritual Community and what wagon coffee does. So please grab one on your way out. It's a nice little goodie bag. You guys, tonight is our after-service party. It's Let's Talk About Art.
Taco bout. Free tacos.
So for those of you who don't know, Colorado Artists in Recovery, this is their home. Darren Office is here, the founder of CARE, Colorado Artists in Recovery, and so we're welcoming them to our free community home. So it's gonna be an open house for them. We'll have street tacos outside, a taco truck.
That's free for you.
Yes,
so get your
absolutely.
Tacos.
You guys grab some tacos. There's food for the kids. At 8:30, right after service, we're going to have a drum circle in this room. There's going to be art activities in the cafe area. If you are a parent and your child is participating in the art activities, please accompany them during the art activities. That's all we ask of you. But free tacos, art activities, drum circles. It's going to be a good night, just inviting CARE home to Free. We're super excited to have them and really blessed to be a part of their journey too. All right, Enneagram kicks off May 4th to May 2nd,
right?
3rd to May 24th.
Oh, May 3rd. That's this Tuesday, y'all.
This
Tuesday.
Tuesday, yep. And so we're going to be in this back room here. There's still plenty of signups. You guys can still get in on this. Just Venmo free. It's $60 for this more in-depth Enneagram course, but it'll be a lot more intimate and we'll really get a deeper dive into Enneagram. So if you're interested, Venmo free. You can talk to Ryan or I after, but we hope to see you there, and still plenty of spots to sign up. And lastly, we are doing baptisms at our service on May 28th. If this is something you're interested in, or interested in having your kids be baptized by Rev Ryan in our custom-built wagon, plan on attending a What is Baptism night. It's going to be May 17th in this room. It's a Tuesday night from 5:30 to 6:30. So attend the What is Baptism night, and then we'll do baptisms to close this spiritual refugee.
And do you know how we're going to do it? We're going to bring the wagon right up here, so we're going to move these chairs back a little bit. The wagon's going to be front and center. Dara's going to be part of this.
Yeah,
Dara's mom's going to be here. It's going to be beautiful, all the way from Georgia. It's going to be, actually, we have 7 signed up so far, so I don't know that we'll cut it off, but probably like we shouldn't have more than, talk to me if you want to get baptized. If that's something on your heart, come talk to me. We're going to figure it out.
So your first step, just talk to Rev Ryan about it, but May 17th, What is Baptism night, and then May 28th, we will be closing out this spiritual refugee series with baptisms.
Beautiful.
All right. Well,
Is that it?
That's all I have.
Thank you, Noelle. We'll see you back up here soon. Okay, y'all, how we kick things off in this community is we celebrate to... They're just messing with me. They're trying to welcome me home, aren't they? They're just messing with me. The way we start in this community on Saturday nights is we start by celebrating together. We lift up the good stuff. We don't skip the hard stuff. We just save the hard stuff for later. But we start with gratitude, remembering what we have, remembering the things we do have. We don't start with what we don't have. We start with what we have. So we lift up the good stuff. Maybe it's sobriety anniversaries, birthdays, babies being born, new jobs, the new thing in your life. We want to celebrate that with you. We believe God wants to celebrate that with us. God joins with us in the celebrations. So here's how we do it. You take 3 minutes. Derek's got a mic. He's going to pass around a mic. You can just lift up your hand. If you're joining us online, it's your opportunity to get a bit vulnerable. So put it in the comments on Facebook or YouTube, and then we're going to celebrate with you after the 3 minutes. So let's take 3 and lift up the good stuff. And listen, if we need more chairs, someone can jump up and help. I see it's getting kind of crowded in the back. Okay, Derek's going to help with that. Thank you, D. All right, let's take 3 minutes and celebrate together.
Hello world, wake me up to another good morning, time to go. Got that smile upon my face, 'cause there's excitement in the chase, this I know. Yeah, I'm going for the ride and find myself, I am alive, and I soar. Still I run towards the wind and let the challenge draw me in, 'cause I want more. Oh, we are all looking for adventure. 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 Oh, wake up heart and wake up mind, and see the world is yours to find, and with every passing day there's more, calling you out to explore. Get up and go. There is joy found in the race, and I feel it in the place where I'm free. And I simply can't deny it, that I feel adventure calling out to me. Yeah, we are all looking for adventure. 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 And I'm living free, living free, living free, and I was meant to be. Living free, living free, living free, and I was meant to be. I'm living free, living free.
You got all your steps in for the day? Does she have one? She's got one. No, we're good. Ladies and gentlemen, Tammy Kennedy. All right, are you turned on?
I think so. Are we good to go?
Man, sometimes I say some awkward stuff up here, man. I didn't mean to say it that way. I meant is let's celebrate together, shall we? Dang.
Hey Hey, Francis. So celebrating my new home in Arkansas. Miss you guys. You made it to Arkansas. That's awesome.
Francis, we miss you already, dude. We're glad you're here, though. All right, Jen says, Jen Deckard, celebrating spending time at the beach with Christy, celebrating making real connections with a friend from childhood, and making real connections with friends from recovery, and celebrating my brother's surgery being a success. Jen, we are celebrating that with you. Thank you for tuning in tonight and sharing.
Yes. Hi, Jen. And Roy says, celebrating my mom's house is under contract to sell. Looking forward to getting her up here with me. We close on the 26th of May. We've been praying for that, Roy.
Yeah, awesome, Roy. Thank you for tuning in and sharing. Doug says, celebrating God's help with the wisdom to know the difference. Man, that's the hard stuff, but it's the good stuff. We'll celebrate that with you, Doug. Thank you for sharing.
Doug. Hey, Stephanie, celebrating rain falling, simple and grateful for it. Sometimes it's the simple things, though, huh?
Yeah, we'll celebrate that. She's all the way in Florida.
Yep.
Steven says, younger daughter home from D.C., visiting for several days, great.
Awesome,
All right, Steven, we're going to celebrate your daughter visiting. That was the last one. The red dot came up. Tammy, thank you for being up here with me and celebrating with me. It's always good to have you up here. All right, y'all. So, like I said, we are in the second week of this 6-week series for spiritual refugees. What does it look like for us to create space? Noelle's going to lead us through this beautiful, it's one of my favorite parables. It's one of the most complex parables in the scriptures, and she's going to lead us through it. It's going to be awesome. So take a little look at the video.
Do you believe in God? Almost 90% of Americans say yes. But when you ask people if they attend a church, synagogue, or mosque, the numbers tell a very different story.
Houses of worship have been struggling to grow membership over the past several years. Tonight, new numbers show just how bleak that reality is.
Experts will tell you, look, if you have gone 10, 15 years, you've found your groups, you sort of found your thing, you're less likely to return to religion.
When I was 27 years old, I was nominated for the Denver Business Journal's Top 30 Under 30 for engineering. In my engineering firm, we had just wrapped up that interstate I-70 expansion project. And not only were we doing the engineering design for this project, but also the land acquisition and all the relocation of the houses along that interstate corridor. It was a monster project. And we were ahead of schedule, and this never happens. It's like when you ask your girlfriend how long it's gonna take for her to get ready, and she says 5 minutes, but it's really 105 minutes. Like for once, it actually was 5 minutes, and it was a miracle. The project manager, Sarah, had nominated me for this award, and shortly after, I received an email that there was an awards banquet at the Denver Coliseum for those of us being recognized. There was a party, and I was invited, but there was this one thing holding me back. So let me set the scene for you. I'm at the Denver Coliseum with 29 other young professionals, and I'm sitting at this banquet table with my CEO and my CFO and the head of marketing, and they call my name, and it's time for me to walk up across this stage, this corny smile on my face, and accept this award. But there was just one problem. See, a few months before, I had gotten my 3rd DUI, and I was on work release at the time. And I had to get special permission to attend this event. So as I walk up the stage, I'm sweating, and I'm the most nervous I've ever been, and it's not because I'm getting this award, but it's because I had this ankle monitor that went hand in hand with my work release, duct taped to my leg. You see, this bulky thing. If I was wearing a skirt, you could see it. And with slacks and heels, it hung perfectly around my ankle. So I had no choice but to fasten it with 5 pounds of duct tape around my calf to conceal it. And as I walk up the stage, I start to hear that duct tape crinkle underneath my dress pants. And the combination of immense nervousness and sweat are playing against me. Turns out duct tape isn't meant for skin application. And after this ceremony, we went to this nice restaurant to celebrate. And I watched the clock the entire time. And then it hit 8:45. You see, I had a strict 9 p.m. curfew that night. And I left the restaurant and took an Uber back to Arapahoe County Jail, where I slept in a cot in a jail block. Talk about living a double life. I was in physical bondage per the state of Colorado, but nothing came close to the bondage in between my ears. And over the years, that project manager, Sarah, and I have become close spiritual running buddies. We've had many conversations about spirituality and her family and what my life looked like in active addiction and what it looks like now. She knows the Denver Business Journal story in its entirety, duct tape and all. And last month, I ran into Sarah in the kitchen in our office while we were heating up our lunch, and she brought up that evening in the Denver Coliseum. And we both laughed about that moment from years ago. And she shook her head and said, "Man, I thought it was like this, but it was actually more like this." Last week, we talked about diving into a couple parables in the Spiritual Refugee series. And as a recap, Jesus was a first-century Jewish rabbi, and he often spoke in these short stories that we call parables. And when he would tell these short stories, they would carry this element of surprise. In other words, I know you thought it was like this, but it's actually more like this. And they were meant to unsettle and provoke, to provoke questions and deeper conversations and debate. Parables have these multi-layer meanings, and it's what keeps us coming back to them. And so tonight, what I want to do is talk about a really messed up parable. And it comes at the end of Matthew's Gospel in chapter 22, and it's commonly referred to as the parable of the wedding party. And it's strange, over the past couple weeks, I've read at least 50 articles and blogs and commentaries about parables. And the commentaries, they all say relatively the same thing. If you're gonna preach on the parables, definitely don't do this one. I mean, go to Luke's gospel or go to a different parable, or heck, even go to Dr. Seuss, but do not preach on this parable. Now, if a couple dozen commentaries tell me not to preach on a specific parable, as an alcoholic, what do you think I'm gonna do? We're gonna dive into it. So we're going to dive into the parable of the wedding party tonight. And not just to be rebellious, but because I believe it's one of the most important parables in the scriptures. This parable was made for free spiritual community. It was made for spiritual refugees. So here's what I want to do. I want to read this parable together in all of its mess and all of its discomfort. In fact, as we read and you feel uncomfortable, just let it happen. If you need to shake your head at God and say, "That's not who you are, that's not my God," then shake your head. If you need to shake your fist and say, "This is not how the world works," then shake your fist. No judgment. So let's read this together in all its mess and reimagine this story. Are you with me? So Matthew chapter 22, verse 1. And Jesus answered and spoke to them again by parable and said, "The kingdom of heaven is like a certain king who arranged a marriage for his son." So just work with me on the image here. We naturally assume that the king represents the God figure in this story. In verse 3, and sent out his servants to call those who were invited to the wedding, and they were not willing to come. Again, he sent out other servants, saying, "Tell those who are invited, see, I've prepared my dinner. My oxen and fatted cattle are killed, and all things are ready. Come to the wedding." But they made light of it and went their ways, one to his own farm and the other to his business, and the rest seized his servants, treated them spitefully, and killed them. So the ones receiving the invitation kill the couriers of the invitation. But she didn't see that one coming. But then the king heard about it, and he was furious. And he sent out his armies and destroyed those murderers and burned up their city. Then he said to the servants, "The wedding is ready, but those who were invited were not worthy. Therefore, go into the highways, and as many of you find, invite to the wedding." So those servants went out to the highways and gathered together all whom they found, both bad and good, and the wedding hall was filled with guests. This parable would be so clean cut if it just stopped right there. I could tie it up in a bow and present it to you like the end of a Disney movie. But here comes another plot twist. But then the king came in to see the guests, and he saw the man there who did not have on a wedding garment. So he said to him, "Friend, how did you come in here without a wedding garment?" And he was speechless. Then the king said to his servants, "Bind him hand and foot, and take him away, and cast him into outer darkness. There will be weeping and grinding their teeth, for many are called, but few are chosen." And that, my friends, is how this parable ends. It's pretty messed up, isn't it? And I see the look on your faces, and I know what you're thinking. Now, let's wait a minute. Let's go back to the beginning. So there's this king, and he's throwing a party, and he invites the guests that are on his list, but these guests, they don't want to come. It's strange. Royalty is throwing a party, and they don't want to go. They're turning down a royal invitation. And then you get to this twist in the story. The ones who are being invited grab the ones doing the inviting and abuse and kill them. Where did that come from? How did we get there? And then the king is angry, and he says to his servants and his soldiers, "Go destroy these murderous people. Go burn their city." And then you get the good news of the story. It's no longer just about the invited guests. The king says that all are welcome. Go invite everyone you find, the street people, the people at the edge of the city, everyone is invited. And then you get to the end of the parable. And the king walks into the party, and you know he's happy because it's full and everyone's having a good time. But then he spots the guy in the corner who's wearing the New England Patriots jersey. Go Broncos. The guy that's wearing the wrong gear, and he says, "You're out of here." And not just you're out of here, but takes him to the furthest place of darkness where people are weeping and grinding their teeth. What? You know, it was this awkward moment at the party, and everyone's looking at each other like, what's wrong with this guy? No wonder everyone turned down his invitation. Who wants to party with him? It's a messy one, isn't it? Now let's see if we can reimagine this story. What's the central image in this story? It's a party. And it's important to point out that in Scripture, whenever Jesus is referencing what God is up to in the world, he always refers to a party. The king and the God figure in this story making invitations, and God is inviting them into joy and abundance. Come into my house. The party is ready. The table is set. I want to know you. And yet it's these people that say, "No, I'm good. I'm busy. I've got some things to do." Parables have these real world implications. And when people say no, it's the people that are doing the rejecting and not God. And that's why we're doing this 6-week series called You Belong, creating space for spiritual refugees. Because every time churches try to put God in a box and try to say who's in and who's out, God is on the other side of that box. And every time society tries to draw a line in the sand, God's on the other side of that line. Every time. And it's like God saying, "I want to be close to you. I've invited you into my home. The party is ready, and all I have is yours." But we keep rejecting it. And then we keep pushing it away. And when you push the invitation away, you push God away. How many people do you know that are being invited into something good, They're being invited into the fullest kind of life, being invited into joy and abundance, into something better, but they reject the invitation. They say no, and we say no. And by saying no, we continue down some destructive path, a path of greed or addiction or infidelity or social injustice. We get to the end of the parable, and what do we do with it? The king extends the invitation to all people, but then sees the dude in the corner wearing the wrong get-up and throws him out to a place of darkness and suffering. What do you make of that? And some of you are thinking, yeah, this parable it just has the wrong title. It's just got the wrong name. It should be the parable of the psychotic, egomaniac, belligerent king. Like, that makes more sense. I know you thought it was like this, but it's really more like this. You know, most scholars suggest that when you walk into an ancient wedding party thrown by royalty, that when you get to the door, each guest was given a set of wedding clothes. And most would say it was some sort of white wedding robe, freely given by the king. So what the parable is saying is you can reject the invitation. You can resist the wedding clothes. You can always reject the invitation, but the party's still going to go on. It's strange, isn't it? The guy makes it all the way to the party and gets in and refuses to wear the wedding clothes. Why? I don't know. But I can tell you what it looked like for me, getting invited into the party and refusing to participate. It looked like not being able to put the bottle down. It looked like multiple arrests. It looked like ankle monitors and duct tape. It looked like sleeping in the county jail, and it looked like spiritual bankruptcy. It looked like losing my freedom, and not just my physical freedom, but the freedom of my spirit. Me refusing to show up to the party and refusing the invitation looked like depression and deceit and anxiety and misery and isolation. Listen, I understand that guy in the corner. That spiritual refugee, I know him. That was me. This parable is not about this egomaniac king or this emotional, vengeful God who wants to cast you out into the darkness because you're not wearing the right attire. It's about giving up the old, giving up that one thing, that New England Patriots jersey, or the duct tape ankle monitor, or giving up old ideas about religion or about God. This parable is about the darkness and the pain that we create for ourselves when we reject God's help, when we choose not to give up that one thing that is blocking us off from the sunlight of the Spirit. Can I tell you that the antidote to being a spiritual refugee is about giving up one thing for everything? I had to give up one thing. And for me, that one thing was old ideas about God and who he was for me. I had to give up one thing for everything. And in that last verse, it states, "For many are called, but few are chosen." It's not about God choosing who attends this party. It's about us accepting the invitation and setting aside some old beliefs, some old prejudices. It's about choosing to show up to the party. You know, someone once told me people have to lose their lives so we know that this thing is life and death. And I thought that was so morbid when I first heard it. But the longer I have watched people come in and out and refusing the invitation because of resentments, because of old ideas, the more I get it. All of us are invited. Every one of us is invited to the party. And the series is called Creating Space for Spiritual Refugees. The space, the party, it's already here for you, with or without you. The party's gonna rage on. You can reject it, but why would you? You know, on page 276 of the big book, it reads, "In return for a bottle and a hangover, we have been given the keys to the kingdom." Here's how I read this parable. You've been invited to this party. You're still being invited to this party. The table is ready. The food is warm and the celebration is about to begin, but you gotta show up. Here are the keys to the kingdom, and the price of admission is giving up that one thing that's keeping you in the darkness. God is saying, all I have is yours, but you gotta show up, and you gotta give up that one thing that's holding you back. So as I close, I want y'all to reflect for 60 seconds on what's that one thing that's holding you back from the party. Free Spiritual Community, there's a party, and you're invited.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I hope you had some time to reflect. Noelle starts seminary at the Iliff School of Theology to pursue her degree in a Master's of Divinity degree this fall. Don't y'all think she's gonna rock it? Yes, yes. When do you start? Is it August or September? August. Enjoy the summer, because then you gotta hit the books. That's awesome. Hey, real quick, guys. I hate to call someone out like this, but I don't know another way to do it. Someone's parked in the alley. It's a Gold Explorer. So if that's you, you don't have to get up like right this second, because then I'm gonna know who you are. But just in the next, maybe when I turn my back, just stand up and go move your car. But it's a fire hazard, and it's just blocking the whole alley. So if you don't mind moving, we have street parking, or the First Bank is open for parking. It used to be a First Bank. It's not First Bank anymore. And Safeway is open for parking. And it's literally a half block away. So it's a 90-second walk. Bianca, was it your car? No. Oh, okay, I got you. All right, y'all. Hey, if you're new with us, I should tell you that we have a guest storyteller every single Saturday night that joins us up in a living room to share some of their experience around the topic at hand. And so I want to introduce you to my friend Keifer Pate is in the house as our guest storyteller. Keifer comes to us from the Native American tradition, as an indigenous person from the Chippewa Cree Tribe in Montana. And his story is so fascinating in this sense of, and he'll talk more about it, but he said, man, when I came into the rooms of recovery, because he's about 6 months sober now, he said, I thought it was just a white man's God with white man's problems, and I just didn't think it was for me. And so he's going to kind of talk to us about this experience of finding the God of his understanding and embracing his native roots. And I want y'all to hear from Keifer and what free has meant to him, and why it's been a space for an addict and a spiritual refugee, and how free has been that home for him. So help me welcome up here Keifer Pate. All right, so Keifer and Bianca, y'all have been part of this community for, I don't know, since we've moved into this new space.
Yeah.
It's been a few months now.
Am I on?
Yeah, you're on. Okay. You are on.
Yeah.
So I want people to hear your story about when you came into recovery about a year ago, because I know you had a relapse about 6 months in, but you've got another 6 months under your belt. But what that was like for you coming in as an indigenous person, and what that experience was like. But I want you to back up a little bit and tell us, you were adopted and your mom struggled with this disease. She got clean and sober a year before you came into the picture. You started using at 13, and just tell us about life on the reservation and what it all looked like. Give us a little backstory.
Yeah, so I was adopted actually by my grandma, who I call mom, and my biological mother struggled with addiction pretty much all her life. I have never heard of a time that she was sober, and my who she was with at the time, who now I call my brother, he was drug trafficking. So that was, and he ended up going away from prison for 10 years for it. And my mom that adopted me, she actually worked a 12-step program a couple of years before she adopted me. So, and I didn't know about this until I started recovery a year ago. I think maybe she had told me.
But you weren't listening.
Yeah, I wasn't
You were
listening.
in other
I
things.
didn't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I started with prescription pills at 13 years old, traditional, stealing them from my mom, and alcohol. So it was from 13 to 21, it was alcohol and prescription pills.
Yeah.
And then,
Can we just give a plug for a minute for moms and dads watching right now, and if you're in the room, put your prescription pills away, because addicts and alcoholics will find a way to steal those because it gives us a feeling that we enjoy. So don't just keep those in a medicine cabinet. Get rid of them if you're done with them. Put them away because they're dangerous. Keep going, Keifer. Sorry, I was just giving a little plug.
yeah, definitely. I swear she would hide them and I could sniff them out. I would find them. I would search forever. But yeah, and at 21, I ended up somehow getting off of them, and I went to a Job Corps for a little while, and got diesel mechanics, did wildland firefighting, all that stuff, and then came home, and I was making a lot of money with diesel mechanics, and I started drinking, and eventually ended up in jail from partying too much, and I went back to what I knew. I knew how to sell drugs. I had rent to pay. I lost my job, so I picked up meth and started using meth. And I did that until I was 25 years old. And got tired of that and moved away to Billings, Montana, and moved into a homeless shelter in Billings, Montana. And I was sober there for a little bit, and then once I got my own place, I started drinking, and then that started my alcohol addiction for the last 5 years that I've done.
So did you grow up on the reservation, or was that not until later? Or?
So yeah, to backtrack, yeah, I was born on the Rocky Boy Reservation, and then I lived there for a little bit before I was adopted, and then at 15 I actually moved back. My mom found me stealing her pills, and she was like, "Get out of my house, go live somewhere else." So I moved back to the reservation with my biological mother, where she actually, me and her bonded over pills together.
Yeah. So you decided at some point, around a year ago, that enough was enough, and you decided to get clean and sober.
Yeah. But
here's what I want people to hear, because I think it's so important when people come into recovery. We come with all different backgrounds and experiences, and talk about what it was like. You thought you had to give up your roots. You thought you had to give up your culture. What was that like, and how did it change?
yeah, I thought that I was gonna have to like convert, or I was gonna have to like fake that I was into Jesus and God, and like I was a Catholic or Christian or something. I thought I'd have to fake it. Like I wanted it so bad, I was like at the point where, all right, I'll fake it. Like let's go into these rooms. And yeah, that's what I thought it was. And I had with everything that's going on in Native country, I had a lot of problems with it also. So I didn't know if it was for me. And like you said, you know, I thought I was going into a room with a white man's God, white man's problem, and it was the 12-step program was a white man's way. And I couldn't find anything else at the time, so, yeah.
And now you work the 12 steps. So how did that shift, or what shifted in you and in the mind? What shifted to say it's bigger than that? The whole thing's bigger than that.
Yeah. So I figured out that we're all praying to pretty much the same thing. It's one energy, I believe, in my experience, and I found somebody that was able to explain more to me about the 12-step program in a native way, and he actually had the same ideas. He started a program, and he's got a really cool program, and he explained it that he went to his native elders and started explaining it to them.
Is this the white bison guy?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad you're sharing this. Y'all, this is fascinating.
So he started explaining it to the elders, and he kept saying the same thing. It's the white man's way, this 12-step program. He went through it, and he tried to explain it to them as much as he could, and they stopped him finally after he was done. He was like, that's not the white man's way. That's a native way. It's principles that we have to live by.
Yeah.
And they went on to explain that, the salmon, the bison, the trees, all the nature has principles to live by. We're different from nature because we have free will. But if we live by these principles, you can live good. And they said that the only thing that they would change about the 12-step program is they'd put it in a circle, the circle of life. So 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3 step would be to the east. That's your new sunrise, that's your beginning. And then 4, 5, and 6 would be to the south. That's kind of your grounding, getting to know yourself and all that. And then
7, 8, 9.
7, 8, 9 would be over to the west. That's kind of, you're doing your amends, you're letting things go, that sun's going down for you. And of course, to the north is your 10, 11, 12.
Yeah.
And that's your connection to your higher power. You're getting that connection, and you're there, so.
Y'all, is that not fascinating? So Keifer's nonchalantly sharing this with Noelle and I when we met together this week. And Noelle and I are like, whoa, you got to say that again. And we're taking notes. Like, okay, 1, 2, 3, that's the east. And it's so fascinating because it's that circular thing. And when you talk about the steps being circular, that makes so much sense to me because we're never done with them, right? It's not like this. I know they're listed laterally, and like, okay, we're at step 12. Now we're done. Now we're healed. Now we're cured. We just keep doing these seasons, right?
Yeah, you hear people all the time say, hey, I've done it 3 times. I'm about to go through it with a new sponsor. Like they keep going back to the steps and redoing them. And
yeah. So Keifer, tell us a little bit about. So Noelle used this image, this metaphor of the party. Actually, the scriptures used it for her, and she borrowed it. But that there's this party raging on. We're invited. We can say no to the invitation, but why would we? But also giving up something to go to this party. Like, we got to give up some old ideas. If we want to participate in the party, what old ideas did you have to give up? And what does this, and I don't want to call it new because I think it's a renewed experience with God or Great Spirit or universe that you talk about. What does that look like? And what's the thing you had to give up or things?
So for me, I don't feel that it's a person, like, a person in a buckskin for what I would see it as, that I saw it as, or somebody in a white cloth or whatever. It's one energy. And then there's, multiple energies that, that in people, in other people. And there's a lot going on with boarding schools right now. They found over 10,000 Native American children. And so that's been hard on the Native American community to be able to come into places like this and be able to go into the rooms and hear God. And
yeah, because that was done in the name of God, right?
They were Catholic churches.
Yeah.
Our Catholic-run boarding schools. And so it was hard to separate those people and that God. Yeah. It was hard to separate those two. And I think I had to learn that those people aren't what the God that we celebrate here and that we're praying to here.
Yeah.
I had to separate that and give up that idea.
Yeah. And so what does experiencing God look like for you today? What does bring us into your tradition some? You talked about sweat lodges. How many of y'all have ever done a sweat lodge? Yeah, tell us about sweat lodges.
Yeah, so I was very big on those when I was a kid. You know, my grandpa used to tell my mother, like, he's going to be very traditional, because when all my cousins were running around playing, I wanted to be in every single sweat. And I lost contact with that, of course, when I was using. And but actually, I just found one not too long ago here in Colorado, and I'm going to start going to that. So that I'm going to start going to those. And I also use sweetgrass and sage. You know.
So hold on, for people who've never done a sweat lodge experience, what's it look like?
Oh, so
why do you do it?
Yeah, it's a small igloo type of a lodge. You put, you know, hot rocks in the center of it, and you splash water, and it gets really hot in there, and you're sweating out all of these, you know, toxins that are in your body, and then you're sweating out all these bad energies, and it's a cleansing. And you just pray. You pray for others, and you pray, you know, just same way that you would pray. Anybody else prays.
Yeah.
But we go multiple rounds, and if you do go and you get with an elder, you might get burned, but it's worth it.
Boy, that's encouraging, Keifer. You might get burned, but it's worth it.
Yeah. My grandma she was brutal with it. She would burn us.
Yeah. So you also said that you found that prayer for you is constant. Like, you used to think of it as just this kind of one-time thing and you were done. You used to think you had to do it in the morning, at night, and then you were done. But
yeah.
Talk about this constant prayer that Keifer does.
Yeah, so I always thought, like, I had to have my sweetgrass burning to pray, or else I had to, like, do it in the morning and at night. So, like, if I got up in the morning and I didn't have time, it was like, oh, I can't do it. You know, I don't have time for it.
Yeah, God's only present in some moments.
Yeah, and I think that's what happened before my relapse. You know, I wasn't doing it because I had that idea. And so now I find myself walking down the hallway at work, saying a quick prayer if I need to, and letting it go, and going on about my day, and just controlling what I can. And so it's constant. And like I said, you know, sometimes I'm so baffled by the blessings that are going on in my life that I'll say, God, Great Spirit. I have a friend that passed away because of this disease, and I'll even say his name. And, you know, sometimes I'm baffled. I don't know what it is out there, what that energy is, so I'll shout them all out.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it strange, though? Sometimes when we try to define God and say, no, God is this, then we put God in the box and we miss it. So I love how you can say, like, yeah, sometimes I don't know exactly. It's just good. Yeah. It's good to offer up gratitude, and somehow God, whatever you define that, God's in the midst of that. Like, we experience God in that. Which brings me to my next point, Keifer. So you talked about the God we celebrate here, and you've been part of this free community, and you told us when we met last week that this is a place where you actually feel welcomed. I know you've had other church experiences where you felt like you had to give up all those traditions and become one of them.
Yeah.
What do you feel at Free? Boy, that sounds like a touchy-feely question, doesn't it? But how do you feel welcomed at Free? I mean, how's that experience different?
Yeah, just like quick recap on my last experience with church. I had somebody ask me, it was my ex's mom. She asked me if I believed in God, and I tried to explain to her that I was Native American, so I didn't really come to church, and she cut me off. I was like, no. And that's not the right way. And after that, I was like, I never want to go back there. But here, I know that I can go out there and have a cup of coffee and sit down with almost anybody in this room and talk about my experience and what I believe. And they're not going to say, well, did you listen to what Ryan was talking about in there? That's the right way. And I know they won't do that to me.
Yeah. So, did someone say correct? Yeah, correct. I hope we look at, like, Keifer's experiences, and not just Keifer, everyone here. We have something to learn from you. I have something to learn from those traditions. I mean, the minute we think we've got it all, it's right here, and we've got the right answers. Oh, come on! How boring is that? Like, mutual learning from each other, right?
Right. Exactly.
I love that, dude. Anything else you want to add before we play a little video? And I want you to introduce this video, Keifer, and tell us a little bit about it. But before we get to that, anything else you want to add about the conversation of being a spiritual refugee? Or Keifer, what would you say to someone, because I love to end this way, what do you say to someone who says, yeah, man, I can't do the God stuff. I've got a past. I've done too many bad things. I'm not worthy. What do you say to that person?
Yeah, so I pondered over this question a lot, and I kept coming back to my experience with it, and I felt the same way, and they say that God works through other people, and I had to allow people to love me until I could love myself and realize that I was worth this. So I think that's the biggest thing, is let other people love you in this program. So.
Amen. That's a good word. So we're going to close this conversation with a little video, and tell us, explain the video the way you explained it to me, because I'll screw it up and botch it. But you had a much better way of explaining it than I could. Explain what it is.
This is a Native American artist out of Montana. He's part of the Crow tribe. His artist name is Superman, and he's really cool. His video that you'll see here, it's him dancing, but I can't remember the lady's name. It's her song sung by somebody else. I'm not going to say names because I can't remember them right now, but it's dedicated to the missing and murdered indigenous women and anybody that has lost a loved one, whether it's through addiction or anything else. So I just figured that, it would be a good video to share, especially, and think about, the loved ones that we have lost.
Thanks, brother. Let's play the video.
Ayahoea, wehana yohoea, he yo hayo hayohoea, hana yohoea he, hayo hayohoea, hana yo hayohoea, yohoea, hana yohoea he. Let's put our minds together as one and remember the ones who've passed on to the sky world. Their life duties are complete. They are living peacefully in the sky world. In the sky world. Ayahoea, wehana yohoea, he yo hayo hayohoea, hana yohoea he. Hayo hayohoea, hana yo hayohoea, yohoea, hana yohoea he. Let's put our minds together as one and remember the ones who've passed on to the sky world. Their life duties are complete. They are living peacefully in the sky world. In the sky world.
Powerful. Thank you, Keifer. Keifer and Bianca, I'm so glad you're part of this community. And look at the little one next to him, too. Just being all chill. All right, thank you, Keifer. All right, y'all, the way we, remember how I told you we save the hard stuff for last? We start with the good. We start with remembering what we do have, and then we get into what we call heartaches here, burdens, the things we're carrying. And here in this community, we don't carry these things alone. We do it together as a community. We do it together with God, because we believe God always hears the cries from the broken. So this is your opportunity, just like celebrations, to take 3 minutes. If you're online, take 3 minutes. Again, it's your opportunity to get vulnerable in this community, to let people into some of the pain so that you don't have to carry it alone. You don't have to carry those burdens alone. You weren't created for it. You were created to journey together, and that's what we do here. And listen, y'all, I'm going to start, before we start the 3 minutes, a point of privilege, tech team. Jim and Sue are with us tonight and have been for many, many weeks, for the past few months, I guess I would say. And if y'all remember, it was a couple of weeks ago, we lifted up their son David, who was in the ICU because of this disease of alcoholism. I received news that their son David passed away this week. And they also had another son that battled this disease that passed away 5 months ago. So I'm speaking this with their permission, of course. But I want y'all, can we just take a moment and extend whatever your tradition is? Can you extend prayers, energy? Can you just take a moment and lift them up? And for all those still struggling with this disease, this deadly disease, I hope you all here that are watching online too, this deadly disease of addiction. Let's take a moment and lift them up and remember and lift up our friends Jim and Sue, spread love to them. Let's take a moment of silence. God, our hearts break with yours. Hear our prayers. All right, let's take 3 minutes, and Derek will pass around a mic. Thank you, Dee.
tumor, and I just want to lift them up. So
Prayers for them, D. Thanks, dude. Oh, we got a mic up here. I need one other point of privilege here with a prayer request, and I'm going to ask you all to join me because, Hun, you know what I hate about the Big Book? I have a love-hate relationship with this part of the Big Book. It makes me pray for people that get me a little angry. It says I should pray for them.
Why is your hand on my shoulder?
I don't know. Oh, I'm not angry. No. That is not her. It's not her. It's me. It's not you. Shoot. No, here's what's happening, y'all. We came in tonight, this afternoon, and Tammy walked into her wagon room. Someone last night got into her room and stole her laptop. And you know, like laptop, like that's everything, like has all your information on it, and the charger. They took the charger. So I got this little resentment towards this person. We do have security cameras, and I was just told during the service
We've seen your
that
face, Sonny.
yeah, your face has been seen, so there's that. But, you know, if we have a resentment or something we're angry about, it's a problem of the inner too, right? So we're told to pray for that person and to pray all the same things you want for yourself to pray for that person. And there's this deep piece of me that believes, man, if you have the courage to walk into a faith community and steal a laptop, something's broken in here, right? So that person is suffering in ways I'm just not suffering right now. So we can pray for that person, that God restores that person and brings healing to their brokenness. And so I'm going to go to bed praying for them tonight, and I want you all to pray for this person who stole my wife's laptop. Can we do that? All right, let's jump into other heartaches. That was my heartache.
I appreciate that.
And your heartache.
I've also had coffee because I'll be up all night praying because my heart is feeling the same way. So
I've had 2 cups. Let's do it together, honey.
You know, I wanted to start to Jim and Sue. I just want you to know we love you, and I don't usually come up during heartaches, but I want you to know we see you, we're with you, we're for you, and I'm so sorry for your loss. And there's a lot of heartaches in this room tonight and a lot of tears, and I want you all to know we love you, we're with you, we're for you. We do this together.
And we laid in bed in Costa Rica that night and cried with y'all and prayed for y'all. Shall we do our online people?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. You want to take the other side, though?
Oh, yes. We got to switch it.
Make me feel awkward being on that
The
side.
truth is I can't read it that far away. He's just looking out for me.
That's right.
Stephen Hay, he says, please pray for Dr. Kevin G., a wonderful physician who has been diagnosed with ALS, Lou Gehrig's. May he continue to help and comfort his patients as long as possible. Thanks for sharing that with us, Stephen. We'll be praying.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. Sharon. Oh, Sharon and Tripp are getting baptized on the 28th.
Awesome.
Let me say this too, Sharon. I'm getting your prayer thing, but Tripp, her husband, I just married Tripp and Sharon. They tune in every week here. He was just on 7 News. There was a big fentanyl article, and I clicked on it because I thought, I'm going to see if I know anybody. And it was my boy Tripp Freeman, who was talking about the devastation of fentanyl and his own addiction to it.
A good word, Tripp, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Sharon says, I want to pray for my family and the family of Trevino who lost his life yesterday to diabetes. I also want to pray for everyone battling an addiction or anyone who has loved ones struggling. Thank you, Sharon. We're lifting up the same thing here in-house tonight. So thank you for sharing that. Prayers for your family and Trevino.
Thanks, Sharon.
And the family.
Christy says, prayers for my friend Nicole. God knows what is heavy on her heart and what she needs. Thanks for sharing that, Christy.
Yeah.
Prayers for Nicole.
Oh, is that it? That's the last one? All right. Well, thank you, Tam, for joining me up here. Oh, you got one?
just outside of the generator, just make sure kids and everyone stays away from the top. It gets really hot.
To the taco truck? Okay, Derek just let me know, so we have a taco truck out front, so y'all get your tacos. For kids, I think there's quesadillas and nuggets and all that, but the generator by the taco truck is hot. So don't touch it and don't let your kids touch it because you'll get burned, and not in a good way like a sweat lodge thing, but you'll get burned by a generator. All right, y'all. Hey, listen, speaking of carrying burdens together and doing this thing together, one of the ways we keep this mission thriving forward into the future and creating space for healing here is by financial giving. It's literally the thing that keeps the doors open. So if you feel called to give a donation, and listen, let me say this too, it doesn't matter how big it is. Some people say, oh, I don't have much to give. It doesn't matter how big the donation is, even if it's small. When everyone pitches in together, it's amazing what can happen. So we have a giving box right here, and there's one just outside these doors. If you feel called, invited to give, we are certainly grateful for that. And actually, if you don't do the cash thing or the hard money thing, if you just do the online thing, well, there's 3 ways to give online as well. You can go straight to the free Spiritual Community app. All our content's on that app, by the way. It's free to download. You can give there weekly, monthly, bi-monthly, one time, however you want to do it. Or go straight to the website, freespiritualcommunity.com, and give there. Or you can text the number on your screen, and all of these ways are safe, simple, and secure. It'll walk you through instructions, and it's easy to do. But seriously, thank you for your giving in this community. It means so much to us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I know for many of you, it's a sacrificial giving. It's a spiritual practice in your life. So thank you for taking that seriously and engaging it. All right, y'all, before we start on the Taco Bout It party night, I hope you're sticking around for the party. Shall we close in prayer? Let's do it together. What prayer are we going to close with tonight, tech team? Third step prayer? Let's do a little third step prayer. It's a beautiful one. If you don't know it, it will be on your screen. I invite you to open your hands. It's a sign of openness to what God is doing in our midst, all around us, in us, through us, among us. And let's say this prayer together. God, I offer myself to Thee, to build with me and to do with me as Thou wilt. Relieve me the bondage of self, that I may better do Thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help of Thy power, Thy love, and Thy way of life. May I do Thy will always. Amen. And my free brothers and sisters this week, may you go in all kinds of grace and peace, and know that you are always invited to the party. You can reject the invitation, but why would you? All right, we'll see you all at the party.
Cause you're my final breath before I drown. I'm drowning, lost in this world with these waves all around me. Deep in the darkness where it's heartless. I don't know if I can make it, I'll be honest. And I'm faded, trapped and I feel like it ain't no escaping. Down to the bottom, all these problems got me drinking. Might drown in this bottle, all this drama got me thinking. If I had one call, would you answer it? Or would you take back all of your promises? Cause I don't know who to turn to or who to trust. I don't know who to turn to or who to trust. So tell me that you last resort. When it's too late, who takes my pain away? So tell me that you never let me down, Come save me, 'cause I've been in way over my head lately. Shame got me sinking, going off the deep end. Heartache took my breath away, now I'm barely breathing in. I'm hoping, 'cause this the only thing that keeps me sober. I feel like I'm losing it, like what am I doing here? I need you to bail me out, I need you to pull me in. If I had one call, would you answer it? Or would you take back all of your promises? 'Cause I don't know who to turn to or who to trust. I don't know who to turn to or who to trust. So tell me that you never let me down. 'Cause you're my final breath before I drown. You're my last resort. When it's too late, who takes my pain away? So tell me that you never let me down,
Hey, let me kick it to you right quick, man. Not on some gangster shit, man, on some real shit. Anybody done been through the same thing, I'm sure you feel the same way. Big Phil, it's for you, pimpin'.